Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be looking at AQA Alevel Psychology Specimen 1 Paper 1 Exemplar Answers for Memory, which you need to know for AQA Alevel Psychology. I hope you enjoy this video and find it helpful. Let's get started. Please note that these answers have been produced with knowledge of the mark scheme but have not been approved by the mark scheme themselves. There are 3 assessment objectives, AOs, in psychology. In this video they are color-coded. AO1 Knowledge, purple. AO2 Application, blue. AO3 Evaluation, red and green. Read the item and then answer the questions that follow. An experiment was carried out to test the effects of learning similar and dissimilar information on participants' ability to remember. In stage 1 of the experiment, 10 participants in Group A, the similar condition, were given a list of 20 place names in the UK. They were given 2 minutes to learn the list. 10 different participants in Group B, the dissimilar condition, were given the same list of 20 place names in the UK. They were also given 2 minutes to learn the list. In stage 2 of the experiment, participants in Group A were given a different list of 20 more place names in the UK, and were given a further 2 minutes to learn it. Participants in Group B were given a list of 20 boys' names, and were given a further 2 minutes to learn it. In stage 3 of the experiment, all participants were given 5 minutes to recall as many of the 20 place names in the UK, from the list in stage 1, as they could. The raw data from the 2 groups is below. Table 1. Number of place names recalled from the list in Stage 1. Question 1. What is the most appropriate measure of central tendency for calculating the average of the scores, from Table 1, in each of the 2 groups? Justify your answer. 2 marks. The mean, because the mean is the most sensitive method as it takes all the scores in each dataset into account and there are no anomalous scores in either set of scores, so the mean will not be distorted. Question 2. Calculate the measure of central tendency you have identified in your answer to question 1 for Group A and Group B. Show your calculations for each group. 4 marks. Group A. 5 plus 6 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, divided by 10 equals 5.6. Group B, 11 plus 10 plus 11 plus 13 plus 12 plus 14 plus 15 plus 11 plus 14 plus 14, divided by 10 equals 12.5. Question 3. In Stage 3 of the experiment, several participants in Group A, the similar condition, recalled words from the Stage 2 list rather than the Stage 1 list. Use your knowledge of forgetting to explain why this may have occurred. 2 marks. This has occurred because of retroactive interference because the material is similar in both conditions and new, recently learnt information had interfered with and disrupted the recall of previously learnt information. Question 4. Describe and evaluate the working memory model of memory. 16 marks. Baddeley and Hitch, 1974, proposed the working memory model, WMM, to account for some of the limitations of the multistore model. They suggested that short-term memory, STM, is an active process used when temporarily storing and manipulating information and consists of multiple stores, not just one unitary store like the MSM suggests. The model consists of 4 components, each of which is qualitatively different especially in terms of coding and capacity. Central Executive, CE, controls the WMM and coordinates the other slave systems after reviewing information from the sensory register. It is used when dealing with any task that makes cognitive demands and has a limited capacity and can process any modality of information, modality-free. It also monitors incoming data, making decisions as to what information is important and needs attention. It then allocates the information to one of the 3 slave systems, visuospatial sketchpad, phonological loop, episodic buffer. The phonological loop, PL, processes auditory, speech-based, information and preserves the order in which the information arrives. It is divided into the phonological store which holds words that are heard, and the articulatory control process which allows for the maintenance and rehearsal of acoustic information, e.g. repeating sounds or words in a loop to keep them in the working memory while they are needed. The capacity is thought to be 2 seconds worth of what is said. Confusions often occur with similar sounding words as the coding is acoustic. The visuospatial sketchpad, versus, processes visual information through the senses or visual long-term memory, patterns of recognition and spatial information consisting of the relationship between things and perception of movement. It is divided into the visual cache which stores visual material on color and form, and the inner scribe which deals with spatial relationships, rehearsal and the transfer of information from the visual cache to the central executive. The capacity is limited and, according to Baddeley, 2003, is about 3 to 4 seconds. Episodic buffer was added to the WMM in 2000 as a temporary store for information. It is used to aid CE when it becomes overwhelmed, integrating the visual, spatial and verbal information processes by other stores and maintaining a sense of time sequencing, basically recording events, episodes that are happening. It can be seen as the storage component of the CE, and its capacity is limited of about 4 chunks, Baddeley 2012. A strength of the WMM is that it is supported by case study research. Challis and Warrington, 1970, carried out a case study of patient KF, who was injured in a motorcycle accident. Following his accident, KF could recall stored information from his LTM, however KF had a severely impaired STM, particularly for verbal, acoustic, information, when KF read digits himself, compared to visual information, when someone else read digits to KF, suggesting selective impairment and indicating that different types of information may be processed and stored differently within STM. This is a strength because it suggests that the working memory model can account for variations in memory performance based on the type of information being processed. The selective impairment observed in KF indicates that short-term memory is not a single store but consists of different components that handle verbal and visual information differently. This supports the idea that memory is more complex than previously thought and that different modalities may operate independently within the short-term memory system. A limitation of the WMM is that the theory suffers from experimental reductionism. The WMM attempts to examine complex behavior by relying on isolated variables operationalized in laboratory experiments. Furthermore, the WMM adopts a nomothetic approach since it attempts to generate universal laws regarding how STM processes information, based on dual task studies conducted under laboratory conditions. Using an ideographic approach, such as was used by Oliver Sacks with Clive Waring, Sacks, 2007, and Brenda Milner with H.M. Milner, 1957, can shed light on how STM loss can vary between people. This is a limitation because it suggests that the working memory model may oversimplify the complexities of human memory by focusing on controlled, isolated variables rather than considering the individual differences and contextual factors that can influence memory performance. By relying heavily on laboratory studies, the working memory model may not fully capture the nuances of memory in real-world situations, making it less applicable to understanding how memory functions in everyday life. A strength of the WMM is that there is support for the visual spatial sketchpad from dual task studies. Baddeley et al., 1975, found that participants had more difficulty being two visual tasks, tracking a light and describing the letter F, than doing a verbal and verbal task at the same time. The greater difficulty is because both visual tasks compete for the same limited resources. When doing a verbal task simultaneously, there is no competition. Baddeley and Hitch, 1976, found that when two tasks require the participants to use their phonological loop, their ability to perform the task is impaired. However, when one task requires that participant to simultaneously use their phonological loop, remembering a series of numbers, and the other requires their visuospatial sketchpad, copying a drawing, then that performance is not impaired. Therefore, dual task performance activity provides evidence for the existence of the visuospatial sketchpad. The MSM can't explain this. This is a strength because it suggests that the working memory model provides a more nuanced understanding of memory processes by demonstrating that different components, like the visuospatial sketchpad and phonological loop, can operate independently. This indicates that cognitive tasks can be managed more efficiently when they do not compete for the same resources, highlighting the model's ability to explain variations in cognitive performance that the multistore model cannot. A limitation of the WMM is that the central executive, CE, is of a vague and untestable nature. The CE is often described in broad terms, such as attention, without clear delineation of its specific components or mechanisms. This lack of specificity makes it challenging for researchers to design precise and targeted experiments that can accurately assess the functions of the CE. Furthermore, there is case study research to suggest that it is not just a unitary store. Esslinger, 1985, conducted a case study on patient EVR, who had a cerebral tumor removed. While he performed well on reasoning tasks suggesting his CE was functional, he struggled with poor decision-making skills suggesting some elements of his CE was partly damaged. This is a limitation because it suggests that the central executive may not operate as a singular entity, but rather consists of multiple components that can function independently. This complexity makes it challenging to fully understand and assess the central executive's role within the working memory model, as evidenced by the case study of patient EVR, which indicates that different aspects of the CE can be affected by neurological damage. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Bye.